Hi, it's Shannon here, back from houseimprovements.com. And in the video today that I'm going to do for you, I'm going to show you how to mark out and cut out stair stringers. Okay, so we're out here on the cabin build. We need some stairs, obviously. I should have done these a long time ago because I'm tired of climbing up and down the ladder. And anyways, today's the day. Now there's a lot of information you need to get before you get to the point of what I'm going to show you right now. And I have shot another video that shows you how to figure out your rise and your run and all that other math stuff that you need before you even get started. So we'll put a link in the description right below this video and you can go check it out. Comment in the comments. Have you ever built stairs yourself? How'd they turn out? What are your tips and tricks? You know, just put that in this comment section below. Click the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel and let's get started. So like I said, I've already got my cheat notes here. This is the information that I gathered from in the last video, and that gives me my total rise, my run. I figured out how many risers and treads I'm going to have, the sizes of those, so that's all figured out. I just need a few tools to do this. So I'm going to use a circular saw. I'm going to use this little mini Sawzall. You can use a hand saw, a jigsaw, anything like that. I need a framing square, some stair stops. So these are handy little jigs, and I'll show you how they work, but I'll also show you another method that you could use to do the same thing. And I've got my material for my stringers. So I'm going to be building a 36-inch wide set of stairs. I'm going to put 3 stringers underneath it. I could probably get away with 2, but 3 is just going to make it much more sturdy. So that's what I'm doing. When you pick out your stringer material, you want to look for some nice straight material. Not too many great big knots on the edges. If you can't get away from being, material has a crown in it, then just make sure that you put all the crowns the same way. I usually put them up. So, but the straighter the material and the more or the less knots in it, the better. I'm using 2x12s. I think I mentioned that. They're spruce. Mine are 16 feet long. My total length of my staircase is going to be right around, I'll need about 14 feet. So I always go a size bigger. In this case, for 2x12, some places you don't have much selection, so 16s was my choice, selection anyways. But that's good, that's what I needed. You always want them just a little bit oversized. We're going to be doing cutout stringers, so we're actually cutting out the chunk where the riser and the tread go. We're not routering the riser and the tread into the side, so these will be cut out stringers. So from my cheat notes, I know that my total rise is 7 7/16, and my total run or tread size is 10.5. Okay, so on my square, I want to use the tongue here as my rise side, my riser, and this side is my tread or my run, the body and the tongue. Okay, so first things first, what are these stair gauges for? Well, this is the top edge, going to be the top edge of my riser. So first thing I want to do is slide my square sitting on here to those measurements that I had, which was 10.5 on the body and 7 7/16 on the tongue. So, and that's lining up right to this edge to those measurements. So I'm going to say that's pretty close. I'm going to hold the square in place and I'm going to slide these stair gauges on. There's a little notch in there, as you've seen, and there's a little wheel at the top, or a little threaded screw at the top that you can tighten down onto the blade of the square. So I'm just pushing them on up against the edge here, and they just stop the square every time at the same spot. Now I'll just do a test measurement here. I think I'll do it on this piece, this other tread here, just so I don't get all mixed up with a whole bunch of marks. So I'll mark this out, and then I'll just double check those measurements. So I need 10.5 on here. That's pretty darn close. And 7 7/16 on here. Boy, I think that's close enough. Sometimes you got to play with that a little bit, but those are really, really close. I got lucky. Okay, so that checks out, and if you had to readjust, then you just readjust, obviously. Now, the other way that you could do this, if you didn't want to buy these stair stringers, they're not expensive, but really the only time I really use them is for stairs. There are other cases where I could, but I really don't. What you could do is line your square up to the numbers like I said, and then take something that's a straight edge and run it underneath the square and up against the stringer here, and use some clamps to clamp it on. So that could be anything that's straight, a piece of 2x2, chunk of plywood that's a couple feet long, whatever, and just clamp it onto the square. And then you can do the same thing. You'll be able to slide that along as you go. So like I said, this is the top edge of my stringer, the way I'm laying it out, and this is the top of the stairs up on the main floor. Okay, so first thing I want to kind of do is just look at my board, make sure I don't have any real bad knots on the edges, which you should have already done that before you purchase them. If there's any splits in the end, then move down a little bit, get away from the splits. This one's actually really good on this end. And there's a tiny split on the other end, but that'll be in the waist anyways. So I'm gonna avoid this knot. I don't wanna have this one on my stairs, so I'm gonna start just after that. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're just gonna run your pencil right along that outside edge. And there you go. You've already marked out your first riser and your first tread. Okay? So then you just want to slide your square down. You're going to line up where this next rise is going to intersect with the edge of the last tread that you just marked. Make sure that your stops are right against the top edge, and you're going to mark it out. And you're just simply going along and doing that over and over and over. Now, a lot of times this 2x material, the edges are rounded, so you got to take a little bit of time and attention and just make sure you're getting things lined up properly out here. It'd be easy if these were square corners, but they never are. So there's my marks that I did already. And then you're going to slide down to the next one, and you're going to slide your square in until you get that lined up as best as you think you can. Hold it tight in place, and then you're going to mark it out along the two. And you're just going to simply slide down and keep doing the same thing over and over and over again until you have all the risers and treads marked out that you need. Okay, so I'm just going to go along. In my case, I need 14 risers and 13 treads. You're always going to have one less tread than riser. So I'm just going to go and mark these all out. Now, what am I getting to here? So 13 treads, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I need one more. Okay, so I brought you down to this end where I'm marking my last one, because there's a few other things we need to do down here while we're, oops. I kind of messed that one up. I need to be a little bit further. I need to sharpen my pencil, that's what I need to do. There we go. That will be better. Okay, so I'll get this last one marked. Okay, so that's my 13th tread. But I need one more riser, right? Because this doesn't end on the floor in the basement. I need another riser. That's why there's always an extra riser compared to treads. There's always one more riser. Okay, so there's my riser. Now this down here would really be the basement floor, or whatever, the lower floor that you're going down to. Okay, so I'm going to mark that. Okay, so there's my floor line. Now I've got my stops on there, so it doesn't matter which side of the board I go on, I'll have the same angle as long as I don't flip this over, right? So I can slide these along this edge and continue this floor line right across the board, right? Now, that's all fine and dandy, but here's my floor. Theoretically, that's my floor. We're cutting these stringers out, okay? And then the tread is going to sit on that stringer like so. So if I cut those all out and I cut this off here to sit down on the floor, and I put my tread on, and now what would happen is this bottom step is way bigger than all the rest, because it's the thickness of the tread taller than all the rest are going to be. So that means I need to take a deduction down here for whatever the thickness of my tread material is to make sure that all my treads are going to work out. You want your treads to, most places like to see them within 1/4 inch each one. I mean, when you're laying them out and building them like this, they should be way closer than that. Okay, so I showed you the stair tread material. It's this OSB tread. It's 1 inch thick. So I need to make a deduction down here at the floor of 1 inch, because then once I add my 1 inch tread material there to there, should then be my 7 7/16 again. Okay, so I actually need a new floor line, which is right here. Right there, and that is going to get cut off. Okay, so I'm going to cut right there. All right. So that's the bottom edge. Now at the top end, we need to mark out a little further line as well. So like I said, this is all getting cut off. That's all going to disappear. Let's go to the top end. Okay, so we're back up here at the top end. This was the first one that we marked out. And for my stairs that I'm building, this top riser is also going to hang the stair from the joist. So, how do I explain this? It's really kind of similar to what we just did down at the other end. The material I'm using is 1/2 inch thick, just some 1/2 inch standard plywood. And we actually need to make a deduction here for that material, because we want the plywood nailed right on that edge, or screwed and glued right on that edge. But if we do that, then this top tread is going to be wider than all the rest, because our riser material is going to sit here on this one, and if it's back there on this one, we've got a 1/2 inch wider step here. We don't want that. So we need to make a deduction for the thickness of our riser material. Okay, so mine's 1/2 inch. So I'm going to line up with that. Come on, that mark. And I'm going to be cutting it off right there. The whole end right off of this stringer. Okay, so I want to cut that right there. Now everything should work out to the right sizes we want. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to cut the stringers out. So it's really not that difficult. first thing I'm going to do is cut this top edge off. Okay, and in my case, I'm going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to leave my lines. I'm going to try to leave my line there every time. Okay, so that was a cut. This is my next cut right here. Now it's going to be easier for me to cut from this end. Okay, so this is the very top. Now I just want to keep making cuts. Now the reason I had more than one type of saw, or told you to use more than one type of saw, is when I'm going to do most of the cutting with the circular saw. But as I cut in here with the circular saw, I want to stop before I cross this other line here. Same thing, you're going to watch me, I'm going to turn, I'm going to come from here, and I'm going to cut, but I'm going to stop before I cross that line. Now I won't be fully cut through on the bottom because the blade is round. If you've cut anything, you kind of understand that concept. So then I can take my, whether it's a handsaw or jigsaw or whatever, I can take this, plunge it in, and finish those cuts out. The reason I want to do that is I don't want to overcut slightly with the circular saw so that this falls out, because then I create a weaker stringer. Okay? I think that will make more sense once I do it. Something else that I'll mention is you always want to have at least 3.5 inches after you've cut these out, 3.5 inches of strength in here left of your stringer. We've got lots, we're going to be about 5. We probably could have got away with 2x10s, just barely, but I'd rather be stronger than not. So, okay, so I'm going to bring this down and I'm going to make this cut. And I stopped. Okay, so now you can see that piece still is in there. I could hit it and it would fall out or whatever, it'd break out, but there'd still be a little chunk left back in there. In fact, maybe that's what I'll do. I'll show you what's left. So I knocked that out of there. And if I flip this up, you can see I've got this little piece up there, little triangle that didn't come out. So that's what I've got to cut out with this other saw. Okay. So now I've got that all cut out of there, nice and square. Okay. You need that to be nice and a nice square cut. So then I'm just going to continue along cutting all these out, and then when I get to the end we'll show you exactly what I do with that end cut that we talked about at the floor. Okay, here's the bottom of my stringer at the floor, and this is the floor cut. Now the true test, we're going to take it over to the stairwell there and give it a try. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this one in here. Get it lined up. where it's kind of supposed to be. No, I forgot my tape. So we have a 7 5/8 step or rise. And there's no 1.5 or sorry, no 1 inch tread on here still. So I'm going to go, 8 7/16. Just about stumped me there. 8 7/16 should be the top of that. So I'm just putting a kind of a mark. Give me an idea what to line up with there. Right about there. Is it going to stay? Looks like it might. And I'm going to put a level on here and see if they're level. And it is darn close. And the length of that stair, I can't even, it's like a sheet of paper. Make sure I'm on this mark. Yeah. So we're going to call that good. So I'm just going to check my head height. We're going to be close. It's a little tighter than I thought. We're about 6'9" 1/4. So we got to add our tread on there. So we're going to be pretty much right at that 6'8". So we're going to be right on it, and we should be good. Okay, I'm pretty happy. So now we're going to take that back to the bench, use that as a template, trace it all out on the other 3, cut them out, and we can start building. Okay, so I realized with my first stringer I was going to have an issue with headroom. On a little further thought, I didn't want to, it was too close for comfort. I didn't want to go to all that effort and then get refused at inspection. So I made a change, and I'll tell you why I decided to do that. So this is the original stringer I cut. When I measured up, I'm right at like 6'7½". Okay, so that's already under. I might have been able to get away with that, but then there's going to be 1/2 inch drywall on the ceiling, or maybe even a drop ceiling by a couple inches. So that's definitely going to put me way under. The other issue I thought about is that I actually measured from the wrong spot. So when you're measuring for headroom, you don't really measure from the actual top of tread. You measure from imaginary line that would be running through the outer edges of the noses of the steps. So if we've got a step on here and it hangs out 1 inch, and a tread on here and it hangs out 1 inch, you know, our noses are somewhere out in this range here, actually up at this height, right? So if we draw a line through those marks, straight line would be better, but you get what I'm getting at, and measure from this up to there, I was definitely under. I'm like pretty much 6'4", so that's way under. That's definitely not going to work. So I recut and changed my tread length, because that does 2 things for me. One, that pulls back this second step back to here, right? Changes me by quite a bit. I couldn't really change my rise. I mean, I could have, but it would have made it really odd. So the best thing to do is I took half an inch off my tread, off my run, and that just pulled every step I gained half an inch, which pulled me way back. That also got me lined up so I'm not sticking way out past this wall that's over here. You can't really see it, but there's a wall right here. So, and that got me down to a line through those noses that would be right about here. I've got it drawn on there. So now, let's see what I'm at now with the new tread cut. I'm at, like, you might as well call it 7 feet, 84 inches. So I'm over, in fact, what I'm allowed by about 4 inches. So even once I drywall down there and everything, I'm going to be plenty good. So you can see I've got the two treads side by side here. So you can kind of see the changes that are going on. So I'm still starting at the same height up there. It's just every tread I come back that little bit, and it really helps gain me quite a bit. So that's the new plan. I'm going with that. That's going to work out better. Nobody but me and everybody who watches this video will know that I changed it. It's still going to be an okay flight of stairs to climb. Slightly steeper than the last one, but still well within code. And it gets us away from having a problem here and going through all that effort of building the stairs and the materials and everything for the inspector to come and say, that's not going to work, and have to do it all over again. So yeah, it cost me a $40 2x12 or whatever at this stage. At the next stage, once it's all screwed and glued, you might as well throw that staircase away, and you're starting from scratch. Okay, so what I have left to do is I've got to cut 3 more stringers. Of course, now I'm short one, and I'm, at least an hour round trip back to the city to get one, so that's not going to happen today. But I'm going to cut the one that I have here still, and cut all my other material. Actually, I have cut some of the material for the treads and the risers. That's just basic stuff. You just got to cut it to the sizes you need. So in my case with my treads, I had to rip that ½ inch off the length of the 12-foot length that I had, and then I cut it into 3-foot treads. So that's all going to be fine. My risers I cut. Your very bottom one's going to be shorter than all the rest, and your very top one's going to be longer. We'll get to all that when we start putting them in. But anyway, so I'm going to take this good stringer. I'm going to lay it on the last one that I have right now, trace it out, cut it out. It should be an exact replica of what's there. And then tomorrow I'm going to bring out a new piece, do the same thing, and start building these stairs. Okay, so I've got my good stringer, and now I just need to replicate it now that I finally properly made it. So let's just see where we're at. I'm just flushing things up like so. There's no real splits in this end, so I'm starting really close to the end. This is the top. It can sometimes be easy to mix that up when you're first glancing at it. So now I'm just going to trace these out so I can cut them. And on my first stringer, I tried to leave the line. And on these ones that I trace, I'm going to cut the line. Cut the line off. Okay. Almost have them. All right. So now to make a copy. Like I said, I'll have to wait to make the other one because I don't have the material. Okay, I'm gonna cut this. I'll cut the other one the next day. And I don't think you really need to see me cutting this second one again. I'm sure we sped up the first part that you watched. So the next video will be assembling the stairs. So have a look for that one. And like always, click the thumbs up. I know I screwed up, but you know me. When I screw up, I usually leave it in here and show you how I fixed it. So it does happen. Everybody's going to make a mistake, and one of you probably will too. So that gave you an idea of how to fix it up. Thanks for watching.